Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is Ron Harris, and he's with Concerned Black Men of Prince George's County. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Ron, your organization deals with helping to mentor
Correct.
young black men. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, what we were doing was we were taking young men from the age of, I would say from the age of 9 up to 13. And we would, go to the schools and we would sit down with them and we would, talk about certain programs, certain aspects. We talk about bullying, how to dress, how to be respectful, and certain things like that. We covered it,
Now, in your talking to young men, mentoring the young men of Prince George's County, what do you think are some of their major concerns? What are they most worried about? What do they most care about?
Actually, they care. They gotten to a point where they want to be like their friends. A lot of them come from single households, and when they get out to school and get to wherever they play, they want to be like their friends. They want to dress like their friends, hang out with their friends, talk with their friends, and do certain things that the concerned black men consider inappropriate. So we take a lot of interest in that.
And you were telling me before we came on air that you guys do a lot of talking, but you do a lot of listening as well.
Yes, we do a lot of listening because what we figured out was that the young men, they have a lot of issues that we don't know about. So we give them the opportunity to bring their issues to us and we can discuss it with them.
What are some of the issues?
Some of the issues is not being, we've had young men talking about they don't have anything to eat at home. They don't have any support. Their father's not there. How do they handle that? We talk about, how to, like I said, how to carry yourselves, and they talk about the type of things they want to do in life and how to approach those things. So we work with them on those type of aspects.
What made you decide to become involved in this organization, Concerned Black Men of Prince George's County?
What got me involved, first of all, I needed something to do after I retired. And then a friend of mine kept calling and he asked me would I be interested because he knew I was interested in, I was coaching young men, I was tutoring young men and young ladies in school. So I said, okay, well, let me try this. I'll come out to a meeting. Came out to a meeting, and it was interesting. And then when they talked about mentoring in the school, I said, okay, I can do that. And I've been involved in it ever since.
So even before this, you were involved with helping the youth?
I've always been involved with youth. Matter of fact, I have one daughter and 2 boys, and the baby boy, who is now 25, as he was growing up, I coached him all through his stage of life, and I continued because, first of all, I love sports, and I love to see kids become successful.
So, as a father of 3, including 2 boys, what would you say is the key to raising successful boys? And were you in a marital situation? Were you separated or divorced, or what was your situation, if you don't mind my asking?
No, I was separated. We were separated, and especially with the 2 boys, I always had to check on them. I would always have to make sure that they knew they had a father. They had their father. They can call their father anytime. I would go by, pick them up, or make sure they had everything they needed, visit the schools. I still played that father role.
How about like during the holidays, having to deal with different custody issues, who gets what, where?
On those issues, I didn't have a problem because even if I just went to visit them, I was happy, and they saw me. So there was no basic arguments over holidays or anything. If the children wanted to come see me, they would come. If they wanted to stay where they're at, I said, well, I'll come see you all.
Now, when you got involved in this organization. What year was it when you got involved?
2012.
And so around that time, of course, we're dealing with a lot of issues here in the country that concern African American males, such as police shootings and things like that. What were you talking to the boys about at that point?
At that point, especially coming from the field where when I was employed in Metro, I would tell them, the police department, you got to remember, the police department has, I consider it a county city, but they have, you got to remember, they have good people, they have bad people. Not everybody that gets employed are always going to do what they're supposed to do. And I just want to explain to them that they have to learn to, be the best that they can be. And when it comes to all the police shootings, we just have to, see what the court system, how the court system handled it. I mean, I know we were disappointed with Trayvon's outcome. The young man that was killed in Baltimore,
Freddie Gray.
That outcome, we were disappointed with that outcome. But we would explain to the young men, this is something that we have to live with throughout our lives. You could be as good as you want to be, and something can happen. But you don't want to bring it to your attention.
Exactly. I have 3 boys, and we talk about that. This is a discussion that other groups don't have to have. That discussion about police and how do you conduct yourself if you're stopped, knowing that the playing field is different. Sadly enough, as much as we want to, in some respects, act as if we're post-racial, there are some things we have to talk to our boys about that other groups don't have to.
That's correct. That's correct. Even for during the course when we had all the murders, I even went to Prince George's County Police and had them print me out certain things to present to the young man on how to handle yourselves when an officer approaches you. If he says don't move, don't move. If he says don't say anything, don't say anything. Just listen to him. You're better off just following their instructions, and they give you a list of instructions to follow.
Because is your ego more important than living? So you can either have a big ego and talk back or you can just get through the situation and take matters into your own hands
Afterwards, correct. And what we were teaching them is, even if the police pulls you over and you have a problem, you can have him request his supervisor to come to the scene, and you can speak to his supervisor. So there are options that I'm finding out, that they have.
Another issue, speaking of criminal justice, is that for many years we've all known that there's a large number of African American males involved in the criminal justice system. A lot of young African American males are going to jail. In our day, that was nothing to be proud of.
No.
But in this day, it appears to be a badge of honor for some.
For some, yes, it is. But for those who happen to be with that person who's constantly going to jail, it's bad for them because they're going because they're with that individual, because they hang with that individual. And if that individual was to, say, go to a candy store, rob a candy store, his friend with him is gone automatically.
Yeah, you're an accessory.
You're an accessory, and you didn't do anything. You were just there. Because there's a lot of times when I was visiting the prison system, the first thing I would hear from the young man, I ain't do it. And I look at him, how'd you get here? Well, then they would give me, well, such and such. Then you knew what he was doing, you were doing it. And that's the way the system is. But yeah, we have a lot of young men who really enjoys going to jail.
So you've got to be very mindful of who you're associating with, and parents have to be mindful of who you're allowing your kids to associate with.
Correct, because like I say, the schools has them for 6 hours a day, approximately 6 hours a day. The parents working 8 hours a day. They come home, they're tired, especially in today's society, they're tired. When they get home, they got to cook dinner, they want to rest, so either the kids are playing the war games, the war video games, or they're hanging out with somebody. And my problem with the war video games is you're teaching somebody to shoot. So I was always particular about the games that were in my household. But and those are the things that they're doing now.
My problem with those games is that you don't value life. You can just shoot somebody at any time. So you don't think of these people as human beings with lives, with families, you're just shooting people. So you don't see that this is an actual breathing, that when you shoot somebody, it's an actual breathing, living human being.
And they, like you said, they don't know the effect. If they were those that go out and shoot somebody, they don't care about the family members. They don't care about the effect that's going to cause the individual shooter's family members, friends. They just don't have any concerns.
Yeah, so just know what you're buying for Christmas when you go ahead and buy those games.
I would say that, but the only thing you see on TV, every commercial is a war game.
Now, another thing that you all emphasize is how boys carry themselves.
Yes, we do, because I have a problem when I hear a 12-year-old, even a 9-year-old going down the school hallway cursing. And I'm like, do you understand what you're saying? Do you know what this means? And all they say is, I hear it every day. So we go through this process of saying, okay, this is why you don't say this. This is why you don't say. We've even gone to the point where we've told young men to check their log on their email addresses, because depending on what you use as your email address can affect the rest of your life as well.
Indeed it can. Because nowadays employers, when you apply for a job, they're looking to see what you post on Facebook, what you're putting out there about yourself. Another issue is, I know we had, bell bottoms and afros and all of that kind of stuff, but the way you dress yourself as well, that means a lot.
It does, because the young men, and now some days, and some of the young ladies are
absolutely,
as well. They're dressing like what they see on TV. They see actors and performers with their pants hanging down, just inappropriately dressed, going anywhere. And we have to teach our young men to pull it, because none of them they really don't know the purpose of the pants being down, but we know that came from it being incarcerated.
Exactly.
But to them, it's a fashion thing, and I'm like, this is not a fashion thing, because if you was in prison with your pants down,
something's gonna happen that you don't like,
or you're gonna get used to it, and you ain't gonna be the same when you come out.
Exactly. So these are things that you're making young men aware of, because eventually you're going to have to go out to the workplace, or you're going to have to be in a situation where you're interviewed by a prospective employer.
Correct. And I've gone through, because I had to do some interviews, I've gone through the process when some young men come into my office for an interview. I let him sit there, and then he's like, "Are you going to interview me?" "No, you can go home," because your appearance alone tells me you're not really interested in this job. You're just here hoping to get a job, and that's a difference.
Indeed,
that's a big difference.
How do you tell them how to act when you're in an interview situation? How to answer the questions properly?
I would do interview training. I do interview training. I've told young men how to dress going to an interview. I would sit there, because like I said, I've done interviews. I would do interviews on a weekly basis. So I would tell them how to, speak to the supervisor or whoever's doing the interview, because sometimes you might have a panel of people looking at you. And it might be one person, but there is a process, whereas you want to make them feel comfortable. You want to make them feel that you're confident, and you want to make them feel that you really want this job, and you're here to serve that particular company.
And also, there's a way to speak to people. There's a way you speak with your friends, when you're in the hallway talking and laughing with your friends. There's another way to conduct yourself when you're in an interview situation.
There is, because you don't come in your interview saying yay or hey man or what's up. You know, those type of phrases are definitely a negative start. You know, I teach them to say good morning, yes ma'am, yes sir. How to kind of talk about themselves in a positive way, and how to eye to eye with the interviewer.
Also, nowadays, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of cases of sexual misconduct, sexual harassment.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to teach our boys how to treat women in a respectful manner.
That's correct, and that's almost like number 2 on our list, because, like I said, going into the schools, we've seen how the young men talk to the young ladies. We see how they put them down. We see how the type of languages they use around them, which is inappropriate, and we spend a lot of time teaching them that's not correct. Because I even ask them, would you like to hear somebody talk to your mother like that? And everybody says no. Then I'm asking them, why are you saying it?
We were talking about just a few minutes ago, we mentioned how kids are seeing all this on TV. That's what they see on TV.
Yeah,
that's what they see in the videos.
Correct. And once again, it goes back to what the parents allow them to look at, or if the parents are even paying attention to what they look at. Because like it's in the videos, it's in the games, it's on the records, it's everywhere. One thing I try to teach them is the music could be good. The music could be good, but the wording could just take the music totally apart. It's especially if you're listening to the music on the radio, you're getting the PG version. You go to the store and buy it, it becomes R and X rated version.
Indeed.
So, and they're not going to buy the PG version. They want the R and X rated version.
And a lot of what they're talking about is not reality.
No, a lot of it is fictitious things that they make up, and a lot of it they talk about abuse in the records. They talk about killing. They talk about bullying.
And a lot of them talk about riches and fame.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll make that one record and they see that it is not about riches and fame.
No. One thing I realized, especially with like celebrities, you see one thing, but they're doing something else out behind the scene. Because they're acting this way on television or acting this way when they do a video, you run into them outside of that. Some of them are good people, but then you got those that they don't see those folks that outside of the studio and outside of the recording studio and the television studio. They see them on the record and on the TV, and that's all they like.
They've got to keep up a certain image. Like you said, a lot of them are nice people, mm-hmm. good people, but they've created this image, and they've got to keep up that image.
Because that image sells.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. Mm-hmm. What do you say is the key to raising boys? Because you said your boys are now older.
Yeah. The key is just staying on top of them. They're not going to be perfect. But as long as you know what they're doing, as long as you know, or as I did, as long as I'm aware of what they did, I can correct it right then and there. One thing I always say, don't wait until a week later to correct anything. If you see a problem, take care of it right then and there.
That's very true. Mm-hmm. That's very true. Because they forget.
they forget, and then sometimes, a lot of times, back in their minds, the parents don't care. If it's like saying you talk to someone a week later, say, "Oh, you just bringing this up now?" So it's you take care of the issues right then and there, but you got to be aware of the issues. Some parents just ignore them, and that's the biggest problem with those that ignore what's going on.
And also, you've got a lot of young parents
True.
nowadays, someone who may be 21 and have 3 children.
I know a few of them. Yeah.
And it's like you're a child yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to figure out life yourself, and you've got these 3 babies to be responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to young fathers?
The first thing I ask them, I don't say anything. I have the first question: are you working? If you're not working, why not? Why aren't you working? And then they say, well, I can't get a job. And one thing I always say, you can get a job. There's jobs out there, but you just have to start at the bottom and work your way. Most of the kids nowadays, they want to come straight to the top.
Yep.
They want to come straight to the top, and you can't do. I mean, unless you come from a society or you have your own business, you can't. You can't start off that way. You have to start at the bottom and work your way up. It's just like going back to school. To become a supervisor or to become a boss, you have to be educated.
Yes.
You have to know the job. And the only way to know the job is to start from the beginning.
And if you've got 3 kids to support and you're working a minimum wage job, so you've got to get trained in something.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to educate yourself in something.
Yeah, my biggest problem is the young men who decides that they'll let the state take care of their kids. And I'm like, then you're going to lose your child. You will lose your child if you let the state take care of it and you show no interest. So I emphasize every aspect of being a father because they don't teach that in the school.
And another thing is, you eat every day and you eat 3 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
Your child needs 3 meals a day too.
True. Yes, they do.
So you can't just leave it to the state. You can't leave it solely to the mother. You've got to get involved.
You have to.
Just like just like you had needs as a child, the child has needs.
Mm-hmm. And the child feels if he's not getting any support from his father, he's going to get support from his friends.
Yes.
And that's where it begins.
And if you were never taught how to be, just because you don't have a father, that doesn't mean you can't be a good father. But a lot of times young folks don't know what to do.
Correct. And that's where we come in at, as far as trying to train them. Because like I said, you don't learn it in school. Even when I was back in school, they had home economics for the girls to teach them how to be a mother, teach them how to cook and everything. But they didn't have anything for the young men to teach them how to be young men. I guess the school system just assumed we would grow up being a young man. But it doesn't work like that anymore.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
As we wrap up the program today, are there any initiatives that you guys are working on at Concerned Black Men?
Several. Right now, because of the change in the school system, we've been back to the school board. We've talked with them, and they said they will allow us back into the school as long as we, complete the necessary paperwork. So that's our main initiative. The other thing is we're working on a lunch program for the students in school. We have one of our members who's already said, that individual already said they would give $100, towards the lunch at school. And finding out that, their lunch program, $100 will feed them for a month.
Because a lot of times that's the best meal of the day for a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have anything for breakfast and they may not have anything for dinner. That lunch program or that lunch is very, very important.
And it's including the breakfast, because what I've learned, if you're hungry first thing in the morning, the only thing you're going to think about is getting something to eat. You're not going to think about your classwork. You're not going to think about, how your day is going to go. You're thinking about, I want something. I'm a child. I want something to eat. I'm hungry. That's my priority. If I can't get nothing to eat, I'm going to be fidgety. I'll probably go in the classroom and go to sleep. So that's one of our initiatives, the lunch program. The other initiative that we're working on is school supplies.
Yes.
We're finding out that the students, some parents can't even afford to get the student school supplies. So we're working out to make sure that the schools have ample supplies to give the students. we're working on field trips for the students. Just like we had spoken earlier, previously we had taken them down to the Black Caucus, and they were thrilled when they met Martin Luther King III.
Wonderful, wonderful. And those are the kind of things, giving the kids exposure to other things and other people, because there's a world that's a huge world outside of this small world that you live in.
A couple of years ago, we took some young men fishing that had never been fishing. They had never even seen the Chesapeake Bay or a river. Didn't even know how to operate a fishing pole.
Wow.
So yeah, we're learning. Yeah, we're learning a lot from the young men. With what we assume that they know, and we're realizing we can't assume that anymore. If we have to ask them, do they know this?
Very good. Well, I want you to keep up the good work.
Okay, and just to let you know, and this year we're bringing the young ladies into the Concerned Black Men, because we're looking for female mentors too, because we realize the females have the same issues.
Yes, indeed they do. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking to Ron Harris. He's with Concerned Black Men of Prince George's County. You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Have a great day. See?